Good morning, good afternoon. We're back. I'm back on the live stream. Just want to make sure you can see me okay, hear me all right. Hey Bjorn, how you doing? Hey Erwin, good morning Christina. Good to see you again. Hope you're all well. I see that in the Discord channel you guys have been trading well, so very well done. Good job. Give it a couple of minutes before we get started. Hey Brian, good morning. How you doing? Hey NX. Hey Stanford, how you doing? I guess you guys can see me okay, hear me all right. Thank you for that, Jew Marinas. How many of you caught the live, the touring live stream, not the analysis live stream, but the touring live stream? Hope you enjoyed a brief view of Dubai, the ports, the real estate, and also El Sif, and me in the Condura as well. Hey Jimmy, good morning, how are you doing? Hey Jevin. Hey KK, good morning, how are you doing? All right, sounds like the audio and the visual is working well, despite unplugging and replugging everything back in. Beyond, you can find it on the YouTube channel. I was streaming live, so you probably would check out the live section. Just, I think, 3 videos are there. I'm trying to do more. Try and do more the next time I travel. All right. So if you haven't already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get a notification whenever I pop online. Okay. Yes. So we're back. Unfortunately, not for very long because on Saturday I'm off on the road again. But I'll try and upload as and when it's possible. In the meantime, for all the regulars, a big welcome back. I'm back on the live stream. Hope you've been trading well. I trust that you have, looking at all the setups that you guys have been sharing. So for anyone else who's new to the session, do drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining us from. Love to find out. And if you haven't already, the link for the Discord channel is there for you guys. So do make sure you join the Discord channel, because although I might be traveling, we do have a lot of people sharing very good trade setups, sharing trade ideas as well. So you don't have to trade alone. You can trade in a community, and that's where we have our Discord channel. It is there absolutely free to join. So do make sure you're on the channel. Okay, we're back to the daily market analysis. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat. Let me know, and you can help me out massively by doing one thing, which is to click that like and subscribe button anytime through the session. Okay, now a quick disclaimer: any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. Please do your own due diligence, as the contents of this webinar are not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product, as your objectives, financial situation and needs has not been considered, and you should consider as appropriateness to your circumstances. So this is really for me to share with you my thoughts, ideas and views of the market. It's not a signal channel. It's not where I'm telling you, buy here or sell there. It's just my thoughts and views. So use it as a way to align with your own analysis as well. If it aligns, great, maybe more confidence. If it doesn't align, then think about it as a different perspective, something to watch out for. Okay. with that said as well, there was a quick introduction video at the start in the lead up to this session. Please remember, I get a lot of messages asking me about Telegram channels. Please remember that I do not run any Telegram signal channel or any Telegram investment channels for crypto, for stocks, for equities, for FX, for anything. So no Telegram channel. If you do get any requests or get invited or put into any Telegram channel, please be extra wary. Report the channel. Right? They do use my name, they do use my face and pictures and all that. Please report the channel as a, I don't know what you can report it as, but report the channel and exit, because it's not something that I am running. I do not have any Telegram channels. Okay? Can't stress that enough. I do get that a lot. I do get the questions a lot. Just keep that in mind. Now, take that away. Hey YJ, how are you doing? Okay, now with what we've had, I'm not going to review everything that has gone through since the last time we spoke, because it has been a while. But today is a good day to get restarted onto the live stream, because what we have today, GDP for the Aussie, GDP for the Aussie quarter on quarter was 0.2%, revised slightly upwards to 0.3, and it got released at 0.2 as expected. We did not see a big move on the Aussie, but we did see it push up because of that weakness on the dollar. Why I say it's a good time to get restarted with the live stream is because we are in a big news event day today. Later tonight at 9:15 p.m. GMT plus 8, we do have the US with their ADP non-farm employment change number was 107K, expected 149. So we're thinking, or markets are thinking, that it's going to be a good strong number for the ADP non-farm employment change, right? Which kind of conflicts with what we're seeing on the dollar index right now, with the dollar index breaking down from this 103.70 level, looking like it's trying to push to the downside. All right, so that's something to watch out for. A strong number here on the ADP might push the dollar back up, with now the initial move to the downside. And then I see a question there, Erwin. I'll get to that shortly. And then we have the UK with the annual budget release. I'm not too concerned about that. Later tonight at 10:45 p.m. we do have the Bank of Canada, the BOC, with their interest rate decision. I don't expect this to be a big surprise, because they're looking, or big price movement expected here, because they're looking at keeping rates at 5%, right? So no big surprises expected here, especially with Fed Chair Powell testifying at the semi-annual monetary policy report before the House Financial Services Committee in Washington. So that might be the big news event for the dollar index, which I think could see a bit of a push back up on the dollar index. We'll look at the levels. I'll show it to you shortly. Following on from that, BOC press conference, that's in relation to the interest rate decision that they'll be releasing shortly at 10:45 p.m. We do have JLTS jobs openings from 903 million to 8.8. I think that with that data being released at the same time as Chair Powell testifying, I think that's going to have the bigger impact than the jobs openings number. So it might come out, jobs openings cause a bit of fluctuation, cause a bit of a spike, either to the upside or to the downside, but Chair Powell testifying is going to have the bigger impact. Okay? this week is also going to be important because we do have later into the week or tomorrow the ECB with their interest rate decision holding at 4.5%. No big surprises there. Chair Powell with part 2 of the testifying with the non-farm employment change number to be released on Friday. It is going to be the first Friday of the month, so they will be releasing the non-farm employment change number. Big drop expected from 353k down to 198. Remember, this is a change in non-farm employment. It's very unlikely, or it's very hard to sustain a big number month on month on month, right? So a drop is possibly reasonable. It's reasonable to expect a drop here, but we don't want it to deviate too much, right? And the thing with economic data is you want some level of stability. You don't want it to spike up and then start crashing back down. So if this comes out at a 98, for example, that's going to be a terrible number. But if it comes out at a 198, or it comes out as a 2, maybe 230, anywhere from 180 to 220, 230, 220, I think it's a reasonable number to show a sustained growth in employment change, but a big crash might not be the best news. But I'll tell you more about that on Friday as we go through the non-farm, as we prepare for the non-farm employment change data to be released. Okay, so quite a number of news to be had for the rest of the week coming up. Now, a question there from Erwin is, do you have any explanation as to why the yen isn't moving with the dollar index? Noticed it on the 28th of Feb with the US GDP quarter on quarter. All right, so let's have a look. I'll answer that question first. On the 28th of Feb, which is about there, I think that drop. And then on the US yen, on the 28th of Feb, where was it? At about there. So we see what we're seeing here, just to highlight what Erwin is asking, is that we're seeing the dollar index drop to the downside, right? Reversing from that 104.20 level, which we had as the 50% retracement level, down to the support level at 103.76. But on the US yen, during that same period, the yen set right across before dropping down on the 29th. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. And if I were a bit more pedantic, you'd see that although the dollar dropped, right, just that move until the 29th, it dropped and then it continued down. The US yen actually set right across before dropping early on the 29th, right, before dropping early on the 29th. So let me just check, for example, the pound dollar on the 28th. Where is it? At about that time. Okay. So it's just about there. No. Sorry, not that one. 8th there. Okay, 28th at about that point there. Okay. So what I would best explain, I mean, I wasn't trading at that time, I was on the road. What I would best explain why I think that the yen didn't drop, well, why the yen didn't drop like the dollar index is possibly because with the dollar index dropping, With the dollar index dropping, you see that the pound dollar push to the upside. The pound yen at that same time on the 28th, right there, was pushing up, right? And the euro yen as well on the same time was pushing to the upside. So remember, the pound yen pushing up, so that's gaining, pushing the yen to the upside a little bit, or the pound yen to the upside. So that's the yen weakening a little bit to the upside. Euro yen as well pushing up. You can see right across 28th this time. Yen, Aussie and Kiwi are a bit asleep at that time, so not too worried about that. The Swiss yen on the 28th at that time pushed to the upside as well. So those moves, especially on the pound yen, the euro yen, and the Swiss yen, I'm actually looking at that, trying to break, pushed the pushed the yen to the upside. So it kind of counteracted the move on the US yen. You can see that it tried to drop. It tried to push to the downside, but then pushed up because of what happened on the pound yen, the euro yen, and possibly even the Swiss yen. Right? So a bit of a counteract before pushing down when the dollar index so-called gained more, well, not gained more, or lost more ground to push significantly to the downside, and that's where you see the US yen dragged lower. Okay, that's the best I could correlate on what happened to the yen on the 28th. Hope that answers your question there, Erwin. Let me know if that helps. Erwin, let me know. And Jamil, good morning. How are you doing? Pound, dollar, I'm in the buy. Great, we'll have a check of that shortly. Diana, yes, I am back in Singapore. I am heading back again in the next couple of days. So yes, only back for a while. Swiss yen is sinking, so good for a short, broke that support level. What's my opinion on that? I do think, I mean, we'll get to that. I think that there's a bit of time for an opportunity on the Swiss yen, so we'll get to that shortly. It does need to break past that point right there. Okay? But let's get to it first. Well, the last time we spoke on sort of the other pairs pushed up against the yen, isn't that more reason for the yen to push downwards? No. So you see, the thing is, if the dollar index drops, it should be dragging the yen down, but with everything else pushing back up a little bit, it kind of propped up the US yen. Okay, so you got the first part right. Not that it should have more reason for the yen to push to the downside. I sound a little bit fluey as well, so hope you can bear with me on that. Okay, so what we're looking at here on the dollar index, I checked in on the charts intermittently while I was away, and you know, with it staying within the range since the last time we spoke was 23rd, was right there at 3 p.m. was right there. Right, we spoke about the dollar index right at that time. They said stay below bearish trend line, break support level, trade down to this point. We're saying that if it broke above, it could hit up. It did neither, right? It broke out of that trend line, but it got held at that 50% level, right? The 50% level held strong. The support level or support area held relatively strong as well. So I'm quite pleased that I haven't missed out on too much. I did have some small trades, but I didn't miss out on too much as the dollar continued to stay within the range of 103.70 and 104.30, right? Stay in that horizontal range. Back to it right now, it is looking like it's pushing to the downside. So take away this trend line because it's been broken. 50% still stays. I like that one. Let me check on 61. Yes, I can look at BTC. It's another monster. That's another monster, but not something. I missed the boat on that, but we can have a look at that. So 61 is there. Not too concerned about that. 50 is there, breaking lower. What I'm looking out for now on the dollar. Before that, let me just check this let me do a quick check on that. Yeah, well, we're right up to 97% chance that in 14 days time the Feds are going to keep rates on hold at the current level. In May, we're at a 77% chance that they keep rates on hold. So it seems to be pushing out all the way through to June, where we could anticipate a rate cut scenario from the Feds. Okay. So that becomes a little bit surprising to see the dollar pushing to the downside. What I would wait to see or wait to look out for, today being the March the 6th, is that the dollar could come down to 103.40. I don't see it. I'm looking at the news. I'm thinking that we'll talk about the CAD shortly. Chair Powell testifying. Oh, look at that, it just came out. Some BOJ policy meeting likely to say that lifting negative rates is reasonable. Might see some strength come back to the yen. I don't think. I'm just thinking that ADP non-farm employment change number could push prices back up a little bit, right? And we're seeing a recovery on the ADP from negative numbers, possibly back up again. And then with Chair Powell testifying, intent. So if you look at that, intent on getting more clarity on how the central bank plans on proceeding with monetary policy this year. So there will be talks about a rate cut scenario, right? Because the questions coming from the committee would be likely to say something like, when are you going to cut rates? Are you because of how households are possibly or are suffering right now because of higher rates, when are you going to be cutting rates? It's likely that Chair Powell would say rate cuts scenarios are on the table. It is still going to be down to the data, in particular the inflation or the CPI number, the inflation growth rate or the growth rate of inflation, and employment numbers. That's what he said the last time round. So I think he will stick to the script. He will come down to say that it's down to inflation hitting its target. It's not there yet, right? It needs to hit the target. It needs to be sustainable at the target level, and then also it needs to see some reasonable cooling off on employment, right? If employment is too strong, it's going to drive inflation possibly slightly back up again. So we're going to see a bit of a possible cooling off on employment. So with all that, I think that we could look for dollar index to test 103.40 and look for possible bounce. How about that? Right, so what I'm thinking is that, yeah, so that's what I'm looking at. I'm thinking that we could see the dollar index push down, test this area, and then bounce back up to remain within this range that it seems to be doing quite well within. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for to test. Trade lower to test 103.40. Look for the bounce back to range between 103.70 and 104.20 or 104.30. Okay, so I'm looking for it to come back down and bounce and stay within that range. If it does break from this point, then it's relatively straightforward. The next big support level will be down here, right? So we can look for that next big support level down here. But it'll be more interesting if it comes down and bounces back up. Makes sense so far? If it's all good, put it into the chat, let me know. And if you can, if you're watching, do remember to help me click that like and subscribe. Then now looking at the individual currency pairs, Kiwi broke out of that channel. I think from memory, we've been talking about that channel for a very long time. So it broke out the channel, broke down from the support. We can take that channel away, right? And it broke lower, so I'm pretty sure this is done and dusted, so we can take that away. This support level is now a resistance level. Okay, and then it's been sitting in that range. So it's been sitting in that range, very similar to what it's been doing here. It's been sitting in that range. So looking for a bit of weakness before some strength back into play means that on the, oh, there you go. Means that on the Kiwi, all the way down here, we do have an interim level at about that 23.6 level, but you can also highlight that point there. Oops. Right. So if the Kiwi stays below this point, right? If the Kiwi stays below 6112, stays below 6112, we're possibly going to see further downside or resumption of the downside on the Kiwi. So we're looking for something like that back down. What I would be looking out for in this case would be a selling opportunity 61 below 61040. I think it can be a bit safer below 0.61. So look for the bounce and rejection. You have a 20 pip stop loss. You can have a 50 pip take profit to the downside back towards this support level. Okay, we have 61.8 there, that's fine. We have a bit of an interim support here. I'll keep that, and that's what I would be looking for on the Kiwi dollar. A test and reject of this area for continuation to the downside. So 6-1, sell at 6-1, 20 pip stop loss, 50 pip take profit to the downside for the Kiwi dollar. Okay, oops, sell 0.61, stop loss 20, take profit 50 to 50 to the downside. Then on to the Aussie. Thinking about the Aussie, let me just check something. Kuwaita, yes. Going right back. Here we have it. Okay. I was just checking when was the possible rate decision. And it's, wait, where is it? I'm missing something. Here it is. There was no rates decision from the no rate decision from the RBA this time round. Right, so let's looking at this Aussie reasonable. Okay, so now thinking of the Aussie dollar, we were thinking that hey, dollar index might weaken before gaining a bit of strength back up to stay within the range, looking to sell the Kiwi. Now, what if the Aussie breaks to the downside? Right, it broke, we had the head and shoulder, it broke down, take that away. We don't need that. We've broken 61, so I can take that away. I'm just thinking, what if it breaks back up? Checking the Aussie, I don't need that one that much. Take that away. We have this point holding, that's fair. Okay. Just thinking, well, thinking aloud, well, that's why I'm doing the whole stream, but I'm just thinking, what if dollar index breaks to the downside, breaks significantly to the downside? We could actually be looking to buy the Aussie up, say 6540, take profit 50 pips, back up to this high here, stop loss tight, no more than 20 pips, could be even tighter, but I think 50 to 20 would be reasonable. So it's either the Kiwi test, rejects and trades down, or the Aussie pushes up above the previous high and continues to the upside. It's not going to be both the Aussie and Kiwi. We're covering this both scenarios. If we're covering either scenarios on the dollar index, so it's either buy the Aussie up at 6540, stop loss 20, take profit 50, or sell the Kiwi down at 6120 to 50. Okay, so Aussie, the head and shoulder pattern played out well, but we're looking to buy possibly at 0.6540, stop loss 20, take profit 50 to the upside. Nothing to rush into right now. We are waiting for the dollar index to develop its move. I think it's still a little bit early. It's still within that range. It could very well bounce from here. We want to see it come down and have a possibly slightly stronger bounce. Okay. Now on to the US yen, crashing right back down, right? Why is it dropping? We saw that headline. Again, BOJ policy meeting attendees are likely to say that lifting the negative rate is reasonable. Lifting negative rates is going to bring some strength back to the yen, and that's why we're seeing this push to the downside. But knowing, or from your experience, from our experience of listening to what the BOJ has said and have done, it doesn't always correlate. It doesn't always correlate. They do tend to talk a lot about returning back to normal, reducing the easing policy. Any big moves to the downside very quickly reverses back up. So I'm watching this with a bit of caution. I don't think, if you look at this, this is way outside. So at the close of the hour, this could be outside the Bollinger Band. It could bounce right back up. So don't feel like you have to rush into the US yen right now. You're not missing a big move yet. If you're waiting, you might be missing a big risk. So that's a better idea to think about. What you could be looking for is a possible bounce. I would prefer to think of a bounce on the US yen, right? Especially if what happened here. I want to see this push. I want to see this push down, test this level, and bounce. I prefer to think of buying it up until the BOJ comes around and actually does lift negative rates. I think that we're still looking for buying opportunities. Look at that big range and that trend. So we're looking for a test and reject. 149.40 right now. 149 right there. If this sustains a push down, Ronaldo, I was just saying about the news that was just released on forex factory. So I'm looking at 148.90. Tight stop loss, 30 pips, take profit, right back up, 65.70 to the upside. We can do 65. Right, so I would watch with a bit of caution here because it's outside of the Bollinger. It's very strong, well, very strong but possibly brief sentiment because of this news that they might be lifting negative rates. So we're looking for that possible bounce. In fact, it might bounce from here, but we're going to see what happens at that support level first. Ronaldo, again, it came out on the news here. So 26 minutes ago, that news, that headliner was released. Yep. Okay, so we're watching what happens at this point, but we're looking for a possible test and bounce back up. So 148.90, stop loss 30, take profit 65 to the upside for the US yen. We're looking to buy at 148.90, stop loss 30, take profit 65. We're looking for that bounce of the support. Okay. And that's also why we're seeing the dollar index push down a little bit. So we're looking for maybe later tonight, we might see that bounce off this level. Okay, then onto the pound dollar pushing up. Why? Because the dollar index is pushing to the downside. We got the inverse relationship. Take that away. 50% right there. Let me see where 61.8. Look at that pound dollar tested 61.8 right exactly before bouncing back up. So 50 is done. Take that away. Bounce right back up. You can see, I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see that move to the upside. That's reasonable. Now pushing higher. Jamil was buying the pound to the upside, I would agree with that move. I have 3 trade open, one today pound and one on gold buy entry. 2012 3 days I'm still holding. Last one Bitcoin 5 days I'm hold. Take profit 86 on my trading, good profit. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Okay, so on the pound dollar, now that it's broken or it's tested and bounced back up, I would look at this and think of 23 was right there, 38 is right there. So it came right in between that area and bounced back up. Now, if the dollar does continue to push to the downside, 1.2720, that'd be a 50 pip move to the upside. Stop loss 25 would be reasonable, and it could happen quite quickly. Right? It could happen quite quickly. I would like to see that break past that point. So I think you can get in at about that point. That's the confirmation level again for the big move, for a reasonable move to the upside. So 1.27 pound dollar. Look, we're very close to what we spoke about the last time around. 1.2720. Stop loss 30. Take profit 50 to the upside. You can go all the way up to 60. The previous high was there, and that's why I would think of 50, just at about 50 pips. Okay, what we also have here is a bit of a support to the upside that way. There we go. So I'm looking at a continuation back up. It could come up to that point and turn back down if the dollar index does come down to this point and bounce back up. Okay, so we're not a big move, not really a set and forget, something that you want to watch and monitor a little bit, because there are a few levels here on the pound dollar that could pause and reverse from. Hi Daily Gaming, how are you doing? You can see that already pausing there, so that's reasonable. I like when it pauses a little bit. A big spike is going to have a big retrace, so I like when it pauses a little bit there. Then on to the euro. Look at how, I want to show you this, is on the 38.2 fib retracement level from the big long-term move. We've seen it, well, this level was before that, but tested this level at 1.08 or almost 1.09 before reversing again on the 22nd of Feb, and it's coming very close. What I would like to see on the euro would be, okay, there you go, right there, that's my 50% level. Okay, so what I would like to see on the euro would be again a test and reject to sell back down. So maybe some strength on the dollar to come back into play. A test and a reject of the resistance, 1.0870. Stop loss 20. Take profit right back down to 50% at about 75 to the downside. So I'm looking for the euro dollar to test the resistance, to reject the resistance level. I will sell down at 1.0870 right there. I have a 20 pip stop loss out of a 75 pip take profit to the downside. So euro looking to sell at 1.0870, 1.0870. Stop loss 20, take profit 75. Stop loss 20, take profit 75. There we have it. Okay, I like that. So again, covering both scenarios, and the euro trade or the euro setup is possibly going to take a little bit longer. What we're looking for is for it to have the dollar index to have come down, tested and bounced. Then we're possibly looking at the euro dollar pushing back down. Remember again that this would be an intraday setup, intraday kind of setup, because tomorrow we do have the ECB with their interest rate decision and a press conference as well. So that might bring about some crazy volatility on the euro dollar. I see a question there on the pound CAD daily gaming. We can get to that shortly. But please remember that on the pound CAD, we do have the Bank of Canada with the interest rate decision release later today. Oh man, okay. US Swiss franc. US Swiss franc pushing slightly lower because of the dollar index. That's not my resistance, that's a support level. Okay, question from Daily Gaming. I'm on sell 1.0872. Do I hold? Euro dollar 1.08. Wait. 1.0872. So you probably sold it right back up there. You probably sold it right there. You should have got out. Well, we're not going to get into the should have, would have, could have, but I would have got out as it came down. Now that it's bounced back up. If I were you, Daily Gaming, I would close out because it's gone through a whole move already. We're looking for a bounce and reject, not saying that it will definitely happen. It could very well break through and go all the way up. So I think that, you know, if you got in at 1.070872 was about right there, you would have a trade like that could have made you 75, and it's bounced right back up. I think it's not worth trying to gamble on the test and reject. It's a gamble to try and wait for the test and reject with a trade holding. Right, so I would rather close out and then look for that test and reject, then get in again. Okay. Oh no, it's on the last day up candle. Oh, there. Okay. If it's that one, I mean, depends on what was your time frame in terms of the view that you're looking at. Did you enter it on for an intraday purpose, or do you enter it on a longer term purpose? I think that even with that, I would still get out of that move. Take the 10 pips, reevaluate, wait for the move again. Okay. Today last day to hold my trade, waiting for one US Open. Yes, it is always a withdrawal day. It's a good day. I think I caught a bit of a cold. It's just a travels. It just happens. Thanks for that, Diana. But yeah, I think it's just travels, dry and travels. Look at that, pushing right back down now because the dollar is bouncing a little bit. So I think that, yeah, it's going to be a little bit longer to push up. We did think that the euro dollar would be a longer term play or longer term setup. So yeah, evaluate it yourself, Daily Gaming. But if I were you, I would have closed out and then I'll look for the next setup. US Swiss franc Very similar to what I would anticipate on the US, on the dollar index. I don't need that as my support. I want that as my support because it's nearer. Okay, and we don't need that. Well, 38.2 held there. Okay. So what we're looking at on the US Swiss franc is a bit of a consolidation at this point, looking like it's trying to push down on together with the dollar index. I was initially going to say that I want to see a bounce like that, but I don't think it's going to do that. I think that the US Swiss franc at this current point could very well sit right there and then push back up again, right? So I would bet my best advice on the US Swiss franc would be to guess. Do nothing. It's right in the middle. It's right in the middle of that support and resistance level. I don't think it's worth. We do have pound, we do have the euro for that those scenarios, the dollar weakness and dollar strength scenarios. We have the Aussie and the Kiwi for the dollar weakness and dollar strength scenarios. I don't think it's worth that anticipation for the US Swiss franc. On to the CAD with the Bank of Canada with their interest rate decision pending, holding at 5%. Headliners to hold as downside risk fade. Pretty much a confirmed, pretty much a firm decision or firm anticipation that they would hold. I think that on the US CAD, you can see that the last time it got to this level at 1.36, almost 1.3620, we've seen a good strong reversal, ranging right now. You know what? I would actually look out for. Okay, I was going to say that I was going to think, wait, can it push higher? Right? Can it push higher? But I think that we're going to look for a reaction along this point. It could push higher, but more likely, I think that it would be more prudent to look for a selling opportunity, say about 1.3610. So a test and reject 15 back down to 70 or 65. So I look for that move back down. Okay, so on the US CAD, on the loonie, what we'll be looking for is a sell on rejection, 1.3610, stop loss 15, take profit 65, back into the range, And I like this as well is because there is a very good risk to reward on this setup, testing and rejecting that resistance level. Okay, then on to the Swiss yen. I told you we had time on it. The Swiss yen. Came down, tested, bouncing back up a little bit. Still within 5 minutes to be closing slightly out of the Bollinger. This level here is reasonable. It would come right down to this point here. And then, okay, so we can take that one away for now. We're done with this levels. Take that away. That's the high that I'm looking for right there. So if the Swiss yen does break below this point, then you would say that we could look for a bit more downside with a bit of a level here. Okay, so what I would be looking out for now would be, if it does break, not saying that it would definitely break, but if it does break, then a shot to the downside, 168.75. Stop loss no more than 25 pips. Take profit, go down to 80 pips to the downside on the Swiss yen. Not ready yet. Needs to close below 168.88 before we look for that further downside potential. It's in that support area. It's in the area that you don't want to rush into it, because it can very well bounce from here as well. Okay, then Daily Gaming is asking for pound CAD. I don't even have it. Okay, let's do that. Hang on a second. Okay. Wait, not that one. There we go. You're most welcome, Jamil. Pound CAD pushing up, pushing higher, continuing. Take that away. That's played out already. We have that range to the upside, or that channel to the upside. We can do that. Actually, I like, although there is this point here, there isn't a second point. So I liken that as a channel. A bit of a false break, come back in to remain within this channel. So maybe what we could see here is a bit of a test and reject. Right? Respecting that channel, we might see that come back down. The pound strength, put this in first. There we go, up there. Okay, the pound, anticipating that strength, could see this push up, but sitting right there. CAD pushing a little bit to the upside, might see that push higher. Pound CAD, I want to see what happens at that point. Let me just check on a bigger time frame. We have, look, that's also why it's important to check a bigger time frame. So we have it right at the resistance now, and another one up here. Back to the H1. That's what we're looking at. I think we could see, and I drew that test and reject before we put in our two horizontal lines, and it kind of aligns. So we might see a bit of a push up on the pound CAD, but we're looking at a possible rejection along that top of the channel and that horizontal intermediate resistance level at 1.73. So looking for a test and reject back down. Okay, so I think most would get tempted to buy it up, but we're looking at a possible rejection back down there. Diana's asking, price can Swiss yen, price can retrace to resistance, and if it holds, might short from there. Yes, that could work. Let me check the hours closed. Look at how the hours closed. We're looking at a bit of a bounce back up now on the US yen. Dollar index pushing back up a little bit. I think that's a reasonable idea as well, Diana. So what Diana is saying is that, hey, maybe it doesn't drop all the way back down. Maybe it goes back up here and then do that. Then you could be looking to sell down at about 169.28 or below 169.30. Stop loss can be tight again at 25. Your take profit could go way down to 132, or even if you had 40 pips first and then it press on to the downside. Yes, I think that's a reasonable setup as well, looking for that test and reject. It is very, very good RR if it does push like that to the downside. A 1:5 to the downside. Good spot there. And then onto gold, lucky last. We spoke about this. It's had a big push to the upside, right? Gold had a big push to the upside. It's dragged up a little bit because of I feel like it's dragged up because of Bitcoin, but I don't see the correlation between gold and Bitcoin. So I can't link it together, but I do see that pushing higher. Oops. I've seen gold pushing up like that, currently at 121.27 or 21.27, consolidating. I think that we have that point there. It needs to stay below 21.50. Consolidate. I would like to see, let's look at that. I'd like to see it stay above this point. So gold, I'm looking for it to possibly test and stay above 21.10 to bounce back up to 21.50. So Daily Gaming just asked, saying that I heard the Bitcoin traders are converting their profit to gold. Is that true? I haven't heard anything like that. Not saying that's not true, but I just haven't seen that headline. It would be interesting. It would be very interesting if they did, just because of the belief in the cryptocurrencies, the decentralized finance, and then switching it to gold. That would seem to go against the overall concept of things. So yeah, usually to USDT, and that again pegs it to a fiat currency. So again, I'm slightly puzzled with it, but whatever works. So that's what I'm looking at here on gold would be, it needs to stay above 21.10 to climb to 21.50. Maybe it might go a little bit higher, but it would form a very nice, at 21.50 it formed a very nice double top for a big reversal back down. Look at that on the daily time frame. Pushing up, it does look like there's going to be a little bit more legs to the upside, but we could see that retrace back down from here. Okay, so a lot of news to be had for the rest of the week. With that, main thing for today would be the Bank of Canada interest rate decision, and also more importantly, Fed Chair Powell testifying, going to bring about some volatility. I want to see what happens to the dollar index. Ideally, would be for it to come back within that trading range. Okay, so again, if you haven't already, please help me out. Click that like and subscribe button And the link for the Discord channel is there for you guys. Do join. Please trade well, trade safe. If you have any questions, you can reach out on the Discord channel and I'll be there to help you guys. And everyone else will be there to help you guys as well. Okay, so take care now. Good to be back. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye-bye now.